Today on Pierre Solves, we're taking on a puzzle from Ravensburger's Krypt series, one of their most difficult puzzle lines. But is this one really as difficult as people think? Well, to be honest, no, not really. And I'll explain why as we go through the build. Now don't get me wrong, the crypt range is insanely difficult, but this being a gradient changes things quite a bit. As you may have noticed earlier, there is an envelope included in the box which I've kept sealed. This is what people call the cheat sheet. It's basically a full drawing of the puzzle's piece cut, so if you get stuck, you can use it to identify the exact piece shape you're looking for. But because this puzzle is a gradient, I won't be needing it. I've read online that each piece in the gradient crypt has a slightly different color, and being a gradient that actually makes sense to me, although some pieces are definitely still extremely similar in color. I've built this puzzle several times already, and all I can say is that it is a fun build. So today I want to showcase the full process for anyone considering giving this one a try. Let's jump in and get started. Okay, so it took me 5 minutes and 25 seconds to flip all the pieces. For this puzzle, I didn't pull out all the edge pieces like I normally would, and that's because the color gradient already gives enough separation to work with. As I move through the different sections, I can just pull pieces as I need them. What I did pull out immediately though was anything with a strong curve. The center of the puzzle follows a circular cut, so those pieces are very easy to identify and knock out early on. There are also rows of fat and thin pieces throughout the build, which act almost like guides. And that makes this puzzle much easier than if every piece used a similar cut pattern. My strategy for this build will be as follows. I'll start with the easiest part, and that's a center circle of the puzzle, but I won't continue building outwards from the center for very long. Once the most curved pieces are placed, and they begin to flatten out further from the center, I'll shift my focus towards the corner of the puzzle instead. Now, for some reason, I find the green section of this puzzle to be the most difficult, and interestingly enough, people online on places like Reddit seem to say the exact same thing. So at least I know I'm not imagining it. Because of that, I'm going to start over in the pink section, then slowly work inwards towards the yellow and blue at the same time, depending on how the puzzle behaves. And we'll save that troublesome green section for last. But for now, let's just enjoy the build process for a while, and later on I'll talk a bit more about the Ravensburger Krypt line. So at the 52-minute mark, you can see how much pink I've actually been able to build out, along with some of the center as well. From here on out, it's really just a matter of following the gradient as it slowly shifts towards that dreaded green section. And notice how unique the cut on this puzzle actually is as well. It's honestly a lot of fun to work with. Okay, so let's talk about the Ravensburger Krypt line for a bit. The Krypt series is basically Ravensburger's answer to people saying normal puzzles are too easy. So Ravensburger released a range of mostly solid color pieces under the Krypt name. And because every single piece is the same color, all you really have to work with is its piece shape. Now Ravensburger definitely weren't the first company to make solid color puzzles. The concept has existed for a very long time. I've even heard of people solving normal puzzles upside down with the image facing downwards just to create the same challenge. For me personally though, no thanks. I enjoy puzzles because I find them relaxing, and solid color puzzles are honestly not relaxing or fun to me. They definitely give bragging rights though. So why do I enjoy this Krypt Gradient so much? Well, because it's not a solid color puzzle. The gradient gives your brain enough information to constantly make progress, and in my experience, this particular puzzle is very well designed. The gradient flows strongly enough that you can keep pushing forward. It looks to me as if no two pieces are exactly the same color. And then also the piece shape, some fat rows and some thin rows. So if I need a pink piece in a thin row, I look for a narrow, lean pink piece, not a gigantic large piece. I've built other gradient puzzles from other brands before where massive sections are almost identical in color, and all pieces are pretty much the same size. And this is a problem, especially on larger piece counts. Those can become frustrating very quickly. But this one, being only 631 pieces, avoids that problem really well. Trust me, this puzzle is absolutely doable, and more importantly, it's actually fun to solve. Now back to the Krypt line itself. Most of the puzzle in the series are solid colors like black, silver, pink, and gold. And according to comments online on places like Reddit, those variations are significantly more difficult than this Gradient edition. In fact, the Gradient Krypt is generally considered the easiest puzzle in the series, and a lot of people online even say it's the only Krypt puzzle they would actually attempt. One really interesting thing about the Krypt line is that Ravensburger reuses certain cut patterns between puzzles with the same piece count. So for example, the gold Krypt and this Gradient Krypt both use the same 631 piece cut. The silver and pink versions also share a cut because they have 654 pieces. And regarding that piece cut, one thing they do really well is avoiding false fits. Pieces only fit where they're supposed to fit, which is incredibly important for puzzles like this, especially considering the envelope cheat sheet is literally based around identifying piece shapes. That system wouldn't really work if multiple pieces could fit in the same spot. Finally, the Gradient Krypt itself appears to have released around 2021 or 2022, depending on the region, while the older solid color Krypt puzzles have been around for quite a bit longer. Let's continue the build. I'll check in again once I hit the green section. So I took a quick lunch break and used the opportunity to swap out my camera batteries. Unfortunately, I forgot to stop the timer. No big deal though. From the camera footage, we can see I stopped for lunch at the 2 hour and 4 minute mark and returned at the 3 hour and 3 minute mark. So roughly a 59-minute break, which we'll deduct from the final build time at the end. As you can see, we're now steadily approaching what I consider to be the most difficult section of this puzzle. As the colors start transitioning into green, everything suddenly becomes much more difficult. Why exactly this happens, honestly I'm not entirely sure, but from what I've seen online, a lot of people seem to agree that the green section is the toughest part of this puzzle. I think part of the reason is that the light yellows into green and the bluish gray into green start blending into each other in the corner, and everything starts looking very similar. So from this point, I started relying more on shape than color. Remember those thin and fat pieces? Yeah, they start playing a big role. Nonetheless, my speed definitely slowed down quite a bit here. Interestingly enough, difficult novelty puzzles like these have actually become fairly collectible over the years. Not just Ravensburger Krypt puzzles, but solid color puzzles in general. Older versions from brands like Springbok, along with discontinued Ravensburger Krypt editions, can actually become surprisingly difficult to find and highly collectible. I've seen these solid colored puzzles called pain puzzles online, which is honestly a pretty fitting term. You genuinely get people that absolutely love these types of puzzles and the challenge they present, and then people like myself that really do not enjoy them at all. Let's finish this build off. And there we have it, a completed puzzle. As we pan across it, you can really appreciate just how colorful this thing actually is. Now let's have some fun with it. Yeah, I played around with the footage a little bit while breaking the puzzle apart and getting it ready for the second build, creating some interesting shapes and visuals in the process. And after that, we'll jump into my second solve of this puzzle, a completely uninterrupted, no commentary time lapse. I'll see you again right at the end of the video. And that brings us to the end of this build. Overall, in my opinion, this is an excellent, well-designed gradient puzzle. So if you ever want to try a gradient puzzle that isn't going to make you want to pull your hair out, then I genuinely think the Krypt Gradient is probably one of the best options out there. As I mentioned earlier, I've built several gradient puzzles from other brands before, and this is definitely one I would recommend. Thank you all very much for watching and spending some time puzzling with me today here on Pierre Solves. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, feel free to check out some of the other playlists on the channel as well. There are puzzle time-lapse shorts, creative build shorts, puzzle showcases, and plenty of other miscellaneous puzzle-related content to explore. Until next time, happy puzzling!